بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سيداتي سادتي، أسعد الله صباحكم بكل خير، وأهلا ومرحبا بكم في اليوم الثالث والأخير من منتدى جدة الاقتصادي بدورته 12، والذي يأتي برعاية كريمة من لدن خادم الحرمين الشريفين الملك عبد الله بن عبد العزيز آل سعود حفظه الله. هذه الدورة للمنتدى أتت تحت شعار ما بعد الآفاق، اليوم نبني اقتصاد الغد، وذلك ليعزز مكانته كأكبر تجمع اقتصادي يتناول موضوعات وقضايا العالم اقتصاديا بمشاركة 50 شخصية سعودية وعربية وعالمية ومتخصصة في الحقل السياسي والاقتصادي. حظي المنتدى على مدى اليومين الماضيين بمتابعة محلية وعالمية، ونتقدم لكم ولجميع من أسهم في إنجاحه بجزيل الشكر. نبدأ الآن أولى جلسات هذا اليوم بعنوان العلامات التجارية العربية، ويدير الجلسة الدكتور نايف المطوع، المؤسس والرئيس التنفيذي مجموعة تشكيل للإعلام، ومبتكر مجموعة قصص 99، فرحبوا به وبالمتحدثين الكرام.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اليوم جلستنا على العلامات التجارية العربية، بس قبل ما أبدي الحديث بس بكلمكم دقيقتين على ليش اختيرت أنا أدير هالجلسة، والجلسة بالنسبة للسوشيال ميديا اللي جاية الثالثة. أولاً أعطوني اختيار، قالوا قلت لهم أي لغة تبون أعطيكم، أتكلمكم يا باللغة الإنجليزية يا باللغة الكويتية الفصحى. فهم طلبوا كويتية، فعد إذا في مترجم مختص من الكويتي للحجازي ممتاز. بس القصص 99 بدت كفكرة من تقريباً 9 سنوات. قدرنا نجمع رأس مال لها بما يقدر 100 مليون ريال على 8 سنوات اللي فاتت. بدت ككتب مصورة. المدينة الترفيهية مبنية على شخصيات فتحت بالكويت من 3 سنوات، والمسلسل التلفزيوني نزل في تركيا، حينزل في أستراليا هالشهر، حينزل على كارتون نتورك في آسيا الشهر اللي بعده، وعلى MBC اللي بعده. فهي أول مرة ملكية فكرية تطلع من العالم العربي وتوصل لباقي الدول. فهالتجربة راح أتكلم عنها أنا إن شاء الله في آخر جلسة بعد السوشيال ميديا، عن الفكرة وشون تبلورت وشون وصلت إلى ما تكون المكان اللي هي فيه، اللي فوربس سمتها أحد 20 علامات تجارية اكتساحاً للعالم في السنة الماضية. طبعا اللي يقولون المجرب غير المختص، ففي عندي مختصين 4 ممتازين، ورح نبتدي من شركة بتيل. عندنا الرئيس التنفيذي لبتيل انترناشونال الدولية على يميني الأستاذ أتمار. وأنا صراحة يعني جدا منبهر إن شركة بتيل لقت واحد اسمه أتمار إنه يدير الشركة. that's branding. You go ahead.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to first thank the Jeddah Economic Forum for giving me the opportunity to come here and talk about Bateel. Bateel is really, truly a local brand that has gone international, so it really fits well with the theme of the conference. We are not just on paper, but we're actually a reality. A Saudi brand that is now a major regional player in the food industry, in the luxury segment of that, and is really poised to be an international brand. Bateel was actually the idea, the project was conceived in a small town north of Riyadh in Al-Gad, and the development of the first outlet was also in Riyadh. Today, we're operating in 15 countries, from major cities including London to Jakarta, in between Riyadh, Jeddah, Dubai, Mumbai, and many major cities that consumers enjoy Bateel product. The success of Bateel was largely due to its pioneering work in the date industry. We really created an entirely new market for branded dates. Before Bateel, dates were sold mainly as a commodity with very little product differentiation. You went to the souk and the price of the commodity fluctuated with the supply and demand. What we did was to solve a marketing problem that we faced. Bateel had created a farming and processing a plant that produced a very distinguished range and quality of dates that was not available in the market at the time. And what we found out that not only the product did not exist at the time, but there was no distribution channel that could support the price that we needed in order to operate the business. So to solve the problem, we decided to create our own distribution channel. And we launched the first Bateel boutique, a very premium retailing and merchandising system that was first implemented, the first unit in Riyadh. The consumer's response was really heartwarming. It was an immediate positive response, and people were not only appreciated the product to consume themselves, but they took the product to send it as gift, not only within the kingdom, but all over the world. We used that marketing platform and success of the concept in terms of consumer positive reaction to leverage the brand to other products, related products. So we have now not only operate in the date sector, but we are a major and recognized brand in the premium retailing of food and food products. We have leveraged the brand across the product line, so we have a whole range of confectionery product, and we have also gone to different segments. About 4 years ago, we created the Bateel Cafe concept, which has been very successful. We are only now in Dubai. I think we just opened one in Riyadh, and consumer has responded very well. And the essence of the brand has really been quality, innovation, and authenticity. We have not copied others. We have been, I think, the original pioneer in whatever sector we have moved in. I've been told that I have only 5 minutes, but I just want to let you know that creating a brand is not just giving it a name and opening a store. It takes a long time and a lot of investment. I've been told that I can show you some of the... In order to support and develop the brand, we have invested in a vertically integrated production and distribution system that includes date farms. We have about 50,000 date palms in Al-Gad, Saudi Arabia, that we produce 20 varieties of dates that is not really available from any other source except Bateel. We have also, in order to extend the brand to other range of products, we had to produce some of the products ourselves. So we are now the probably largest gourmet chocolate producer in the kingdom and in the Middle East, perhaps. And we have also moved into the cafe business. We produce our own soft pastry. In terms of distribution, we have 3 channels. We have the gourmet date concept, which was the original concept that established Bateel in the market. And we have, as I said, 3 years ago, launched the Bateel Cafe concept, again, a very premium concept that has been well received. And we can use about 50% of our dates that we produce. They are of quality that we can sell through the Bateel distribution channel. But we also launched the other 50% that we cannot sell. We are marketing in the supermarket through the Bateel, through the Jomara brand. All of this is managed through a very skilled and qualified team of R&D and market people. And this is our R&D center in Dubai Investment Park in Dubai. I've been told that I have only 10 minutes, so I think my time is up, and I'll be happy to take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. المتحدث التالي السيد رفيق الدين شيكو، والرئيس التنفيذي لشركة دينار ستاندرد. رفيق.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I begin in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most beneficent. Salatu wassalam ala Rasulullah wa ala alihi ashabi ajma'in. Ladies and gentlemen, my topic in the context of branding Arabia is there's one point I need to make today and make a case to you, which is that universal Islamic values as a core attribute for brand Arabia's globalization. And the way I'm going to do it is first answer the question of why are Islamic values an important Arab brand attribute, and then we're going to talk about where do we stand today and what is the specific opportunity and how to realize it. So the first point is that Islam indeed undeniably is an important part of the Arab DNA. Given the context of the population, the percentage of population that's Muslim and the size of it, no doubt that it's not a monolithic community or context. We have members of other faiths, from Christians and others, who are also part of the Arab brand, but overwhelmingly more than half of the Arab countries are at least 95% or more Muslim, and the rest of them are between 70 to 90%. So the question still is, why and how does it relate to branding? Well, as we all know, Islam is a way of life. So for most Muslim, it drives many aspects or all aspects of our lives, from family values to modesty to how we see business in the context of just and equitable financing, social responsibility, etc. And these values affect many, many industries when it comes to real business. So food sector, the financing segment, education, fashion, recreation, these are all sectors that have real impact from those values. These values actually have a universal appeal, most of these values. Just and equitable business, zakat, sadaqah, or charity, wholesome food, education, etc. The reality is this context already in the context of business exists. If we look at the Islamic finance industry today, it is a growing segment of the finance industry. It's large in terms of its size. The other piece of this puzzle, what we refer to as the Muslim lifestyle market, today we estimate to be over a $2 trillion market. And this covers not just food, it covers other segments such as travel, fashion, education. Dr. Mutawa's Brand 99 is a great example of one that is espousing these values with a universal appeal. So these are unique products and services that are geared towards the Muslim market. And finally, the final piece of this is the 57 or so Muslim majority countries, and right down the road in Jeddah we have the Islamic Development Bank that is working towards increasing trade amongst the Muslim countries. So if you look at it, this is already in the works. However, coming back to my point about why are Islamic values important, best practices, global best practices point to the importance of authenticity in brands. And this is the point I'm going to be making in terms of connectivity with Islamic values. The fundamentals, the great management and the leaders in brands say the importance of sincerity in the brand. And today, with the digital media and the digital revolution that's changing marketing and branding, with crowdsourcing and Twitter revolutions and smartphones and mobile phones and Facebook being one of the largest countries in the world in terms of the 800 million plus registered users we have, brands today have less control. And what that means is it's about customer conversations. And conversations and transparency means brands that have unique values that are authentic, that people can believe in. Let's look at the example of nations as brands. When we think of Germany, one of the key attributes of that brand is superior quality engineering. How does that happen? In the front of it, we have brands as ambassadors. When we think of BMW or Mercedes or Siemens, these brands espouse that key brand attribute. But how does that really come about? On the ground, first and foremost, we have government support. In Germany, they have strong government support to work towards that brand identity. They have strong infrastructure that supports towards that brand identity. But the thing that I want to point out is the people and culture part. If you think of German people, if you have friends and colleagues who are German, you know they have a certain culture of high quality and high discipline in terms of education and so forth. And that is a major contributor to the authenticity and success of their brand. Okay, so with that context, where do we stand today? My firm, DinarStandard, produces a ranking called the DS100. These are the top 100 companies in the Muslim-majority countries. On the left-hand side, you see a chart of brands from these top 100 countries, which include Turkey and Malaysia, but you see some of the brands from the Arab countries, Emirates, Afia, which is Savola's, Etisalat, Zain, Atmar, Al-Raji Bank, etc. On the right-hand side, you see some of the other emerging brands, such as Kaust, Al Jazeera, Hikma Pharmaceuticals, Jumeirah, and Al-Marai, of course. So these are some examples of brands that we have today that are leading brands. But reality is we're still far in terms of truly becoming global brands, which is the topic of the sessions today. And DinarStandard, we conducted a comparative study. We looked at the top 100 brands of the world and compared it to the top 100 brands or companies from the Muslim-majority countries. And essentially, the goal was to find out what are the missing elements. The first aspect of the missing element was an innovation culture. I'm not going to talk about that part. It's a different topic. That's not the topic of our session today. The second part was a major gap in terms of branding and marketing approach in context of global competitiveness. And the thing, again, I've highlighted here is the importance of genuine brand, soul, and identity. So what we recommend are three core areas to address. The first one, if you look at the outside of this circle, is developing competitive practices, marketing and innovation best practices, which is something many of these brands are doing, and we're working towards it. But the other two are unique challenges. First is, as I mentioned, rehabilitating an innovation culture in a corporate environment, and at the heart of it are products and brands that have unique soul that is authentic to your own identities. We have good examples today that are emerging, and we have I'm honored to be on a panel with some of my favorite brands. Bateel is a great example of what I'm referring to, which has a unique, authentic soul to its identity. 99 is a great example, and these are brands that have universal appeal. Abdulatif Jamil's great work reflective of the beliefs and values of our Islamic values. Al-Raji, which in here represents an Islamic finance point of view. Okay, so how do we realize this opportunity? First of all, if we just look at the Muslim majority countries globally, it's a quarter of the world's population. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a quarter of the world's market. $7.5 trillion plus economy. Today, we don't even have any brand that covers from Istanbul to Malaysia, Indonesia to Morocco. We truly don't have even OIC-wide brands. So what I would say is from a Muslim market or Islamic values-driven market, whose tenets are essentially two. One is our aspects of products that are halal, which are lawful, and tayyib, which is wholesome, and those are values that even have universal and global appeal, as you can see. So that's one aspect. An example of that is the travel market. When you think of the Muslim travel market, and many globally, hotels and airlines and destinations are interested in, the core Muslim market, you would say, is the Islamic tourism market, is the Hajj and Umrah market. But the wider band is the Muslim lifestyle market. And we're currently doing a global study that's addressing this opportunity, which also has a global appeal. So what I would say is, in the context of our grand vision of what our values espouse for, if you look at the crises around the world, from financial crisis, hunger, climate, ignorance, etc., these are all streams in which businesses, Islamic financial institutions, or businesses from agriculture sector or technology and education can address with a global impact. And so what I conclude with to you, or submit to you, is what I started with, that I believe that universal Islamic values can drive authentic brand Arabia globalization. After all, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Kuntum khayru ummatin ukhrijat linnas." You are the best nation produced as example for mankind. So I hope from amongst this audience and from amongst the brands that are emerging, inshallah, we'll see these brands turn into world's most admired companies. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rafi-uddin. والآن السيد حسام عبد القادر، مدير العلاقات العامة من شركة المراعي. حياك الله.
Assalamu alaikum. Sabah al-khair. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hussam Abdulqader. I head corporate communications and public relations for Al-Marai company. I'd like to thank Jeddah Chamber of Commerce for holding this event and for hosting us. What I'd like to share with you today are some facts and figures about Al-Marai. You probably heard of the brand. I would assume that the majority have used the brand. At least this is what the data tells us. And I would also share with you the secret, which is not very different from Bateel, on how Al-Marai creates value through its brand. I'll start off with an image. When I say Al-Marai, what are the products or the images that come to your mind? Am I correct? It's most of the consumers or most of the people that are exposed to the brand think of dairy, milk, laban, zabadi, kishta. Fresh dairy is the most dominant product that comes to mind when we say Al-Marai. That's not surprising, because 35 years ago, when Prince Sultan bin Muhammad have established this company, it was a dairy company. It just did dairy. From there on, it expanded. It grew its portfolio. We went into juices, into cheeses, today in poultry, and as well as bakery. But the Al-Marai today is quite different from Al-Marai 35 years ago. Today, I can proudly say that Al-Marai is the world's largest vertically integrated dairy company. It's also one of the largest food manufacturing companies in the whole region. Just to take you back a bit in time, anybody remember these? Very old packaging. I picked them up. Actually, this is not from the company archive. It's actually from the net. Somebody just posted it out there with these products. I don't know who keeps them. I'd like to have them. I'll start with some facts and figures about Al-Marai, and I'll start with the people. And did you know that Al-Marai hires 22,500 people? That's actually the number of people that Al-Marai had at the end of 2011. When I joined Al-Marai 8 years ago, we were 3,700 people. That's a significant growth. But I'll share with you something else. The plan is to go to 27,000 people by the end of 2012. That's 4,500 people roughly that are going to join our company. On an average, that's one person every 2 hours, day and night, for 365 days of this year. Did you know that Al-Marai has 135,000 cows? And that's where all this milk is coming from. I still get asked, until today, do you actually have powder milk and you give it to us after you recombine it? And the answer is no. We have 135,000 cows. Everybody is welcome to see it. We actually have a visitation program where anybody can just say, I would like to visit Al-Marai. We can arrange a visit throughout to one of our farms. We have 7 of them, and see our lovely cows that are cared for. To give you just a visual example of what 135,000 cows would look like, if we were to ask our cows to stand in a line, not side by side, but actually in a row, one after the other, and we would start in Riyadh, that will take us in a trip all the way to Dammam. And you'd have a drive of about 3 hours with just cows in one file all the way through. So with 2.5 million liters of milk produced every day, how do we go about it? We have about 1,000 reefers, the big trucks, tankers, tractor heads, that actually travel around the GCC to distribute our products to our 70 depots. From there on, it's taken by smaller trucks. Now, again, to put these 1,000 trips into perspective, as they're driving around the GCC, they do about 193 million kilometers every year. That's roughly going around the earth 4,800 times. Did you know that Al-Marai was that big? Majority of the people don't. They would think milk, laban, zabadi. Forbes in 2008 and 2009 spoke about Al-Marai. It's been ranked as the #1 FMCG brand in Middle East and North Africa. The Financial Times have spoken also about us in an article in 2010, recognizing Al-Marai to be one of the next 5 brands to go global. So, how did we do it? How does Al-Marai actually add value? And we will share with you the secret, as Bateel did as well. It starts with commitment, absolute commitment to quality. It's no question about it. Quality comes first, and we aim for superiority in everything that we do. We ask our consumers, we take their opinion, we build our products accordingly, and then we put it in front of them. We make sure that our products are nutritious, their visual appeal is distinct, whether the product itself or from a packaging point of view, and we offer them value for money. We pride ourselves as a low-cost producer that will be able to put a superior product in front of consumers at a reasonable price, which is available to everybody. We differentiate, whether it's through packaging, whether it's through the products, product innovation, the functional benefits that you get, and the sizes that our products would come in. All of the first 2 steps are quite good, but not unless you make these products available to all the consumers and they are at hand, you will not be able to generate demand on your products. So what we do is actually we have about 3,000 trucks that go into the cities, apart from the 1,000 that we spoke about. So there's another 3,000 trucks that drive around, deliver our products to all the outlets. A number again, and I'm told I'm a numbers man. We reach 48,000 outlets every single day with our products. So that's trucks delivering products out there. If there's anything that needs to be brought back, it's again brought back with them. We have a full team that merchandises our products. And finally, we communicate. There is no point of advertising or communicating your brand if it's not available. And we also try to differentiate ourselves through our communication. Although this is a very debatable project of how good it is, I don't think we have reached the heights that we would like to, but we are still working toward that. What has this resulted in? Satisfied customers. And we know that because we have some market data that we buy on a monthly basis. And I'm just going to share 2 slides with you. The reason is not to cut down our competitors at all. We respect our competitors. But we would like to show you what we have achieved from a GCC perspective so far. And our figures on a KSA level are a lot higher. So here it goes. The GCC dairy market, and defining the dairy market, it's mainly milk in its all formats, whether it's fresh, recombined, or powder, recombined laban and fresh laban, zabadi, creams. Al-Marai is the #1 company with 35%. The next brand would be Nestlé, which is a global brand. You didn't think that. We grew up knowing imported brands, but today we have a local brand that has made it. Another slide, and my final slide I'll share with you, is processed cheese. This is a category that Al-Marai went into later in and has developed products that appeal to the taste of the local consumers within our region. What has that resulted in? Al-Marai today has about 33% market share. Kraft is #2 with 21, Fromagerie Belle at 21, all respect to our competitors. We have learned a lot from them as well. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to your questions later.
Thank you. واخيرا وليس اخرا السيد ميشيل بنسون المدير الاقليمي لشركه انتربراند.
Good morning. I'm here to talk to you about what it takes to become a global brand. And from what position do I speak? Well, I work for Interbrand. We are the world's leading global brand consultancy, and we have been fortunate enough to work with some of the world's, or most of the world's, leading brands. Not only have we worked with those leading brands, but we have also created some of the world's leading brands. And there's quite a few names here that you probably recognize. One of the things that we also do is that we are also the pioneers of brand valuation. And every year we create the list of the world's 100 most valuable global brands. This gives us a unique insight into what these companies are doing to create brand value and how the brands are driving value for their businesses. And so I'm going to share some of these things with you today. So, the key elements of building a global brand. Some of these things are back to basics, but they're incredibly important and need to be reinforced, and everybody needs to recognize this. First, recognize the importance of your brand. Secondly, make sure that your brand is the soul and the body of your business, every part of your business. Lastly, make sure that you are managing all aspects of your business to build that brand strength. Now, it might be a bit odd to start thinking about or asking people to reconsider the importance of your brand, but many businesses don't. Focused a lot on operational matters or commercial matters. Brands are incredibly important, and we believe brands are supremely important because they have the power to change the world. They change the way we donate, they change the way we shop. Technology has changed our lives. These have been driven by brands. And you need to recognize that your brand within your business is an asset. It is there to create value for you. It needs to be managed correctly so that it can create across all parts of your business, which is what we mean by all touch points, so that you can be identified, so that you stand out as being unique and different and better, and so it creates value for your business. So what's the difference between these two shirts? They're identical. One costs $30 more than the other one because it has the Nike swoosh on it. The difference is the brand. That's because brand plays a part in every single purchase decision that is made. Every single purchase decision that is made. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you're in the fashion or luxury industry, brand plays up to 70% of that purchase decision. In fashion, it's important what brands you're wearing. In the financial services industry, where perhaps you would be thinking more about prices and more about rates, up to 20% of that decision is based on your brand. Your brand is incredibly important for being chosen. If you have a strong brand, it creates value for your business in many different ways. First, it'll drive choice, as you've just seen. It will allow you to generate revenue now and get new customers. Secondly, if you have your brand right, it'll make sure that you are different and that you cannot be substituted. That allows you to command a premium, and it'll increase your margins and profitability. And if you've delivered a good experience to your customers, they will be loyal, and that will secure your demand into the future. There are other benefits that many people don't realize. That if you have a strong brand, the cost of capital is lower. You are considered a lower risk, so the interest rates are lower that you will get. Your suppliers give you better prices because they want to work with a strong brand. Also, talent will come to you more easily. Your cost of recruitment will be lower, and you will get better talent if you have a strong brand. All of these are very real reasons why businesses need to put brands up much higher on the list of priorities than it currently is. This is the part where I get very passionate because brands are much more than just a logo. And unfortunately, I see many, many requests for proposals which talk about brands, but actually, businesses only want a new logo. These are the businesses that are thinking in an old-fashioned way, where brand strategy is only just part of communications. Your logo is the piece that ends up in the corner of communications. Leading brands put brands at the heart of the business. It drives everything your business does, from what you invest in to the type of people that you get, for the research and development that you're focusing on, that goes forward to build a strong brand now and into the future. But your brand is, again, more than your logo. Once you have decided what your positioning is that will attract your target audience, you need to bring it to life across all aspects of the business. The sum of every interaction with your business is your brand. So we created the mini brand when BMW wanted to relaunch it. Yes, we created a nice logo, but we created a tone of voice in its communications that gave the brand attitude. We created retail environments that brought to life the positioning of downtown at night, that again gave the brand an attitude and made it one of the most successful small premium car launches in the world. For Intercontinental, yes, it's got a great visual identity, but very important for communicating to business people who want to extend the experience, who want a better experience from a hotel that knows the local environment. The staff are incredibly important, and the product and services that reinforce that proposition are incredibly important. When you stay at a hotel and you've had a great time, you're not going to walk away and say, wow, they had a great logo. You're going to walk away remembering all those different aspects. How do you manage to build brand strength? Now, I'm not going to expect you to remember all of these, but it's important that you recognize that there are some key factors, internal and external, that every brand needs to focus on. First, make sure that the entire business is very clear about what your brand stands for, as Audi is with Vorsprung durch Technik, advancement through technology. That's one of the reasons why Qatar Airways has won World Airline of the Year. They're clear what their brand stands for. Make sure that the business is committed to brand-led decisions, not just short-term goals, but things that are going to build your brand over time. In the way that Google has done through innovation, some of their best ideas are because they're committed to give their employees times off so that they can come up with new ideas. Jumeirah is committed to its brand in terms of delivering luxury in all its forms. Protect your brand, protect what is uniquely yours. Porsche has about 6,000 patents. It's not just trademarking. Protect what makes you different. Make sure your brand is responsive. Nike was once seen as an evil provider of goods exploiting child labor. They've turned that brand around and now one of the most ethical companies in the world. Al Jazeera used to have a bad reputation in the West and in the East, but now is seen as an authority. They reacted to what the market was thinking about themselves and built a stronger brand. Authenticity. Coke has been delivering joy for over 125 years. Authenticity is what gives you the credibility to make your claims. Al-Marai, as we've just heard, is a fantastic example of a brand with authenticity that allows it to claim trust and quality. Consistency. Make sure that you are consistent in everything that you do. Apple is a fantastic example of uniting art and technology in every single form in its products and retail environments. Emirates is a good way, is a fantastic brand of being consistent in what they're delivering. Make sure that you are present everywhere that your customers are and where they need to be. Amazon has done a great job from being a retailer online of books, then into music. Now it's providing products it's like the Kindle and the Kindle Fire. Etisalat and Mobily have done a great job of extending their presence internationally and locally, targeting expats that work here in India, for example. Make sure that you are relevant. Relevance is key. You're relevant to your target audience. McDonald's has adapted its formats and adapted its menus to make sure it is relevant. Al Jazeera has adapted its content to make sure it's relevant to audiences beyond the region. Make sure you are differentiated. Hermes is always differentiated. It's interesting to see that some brands in this region are not desperately differentiated. That's where we need to work harder. And make sure that you understand and consumers understand what you're about. Starbucks has been fantastic. They have actually taken the word coffee off their logo because everyone understands what Starbucks is about. Everyone understands what the Burj Al Arab is about when they see the building. But interestingly, not many people know the logo. So, key elements in building a global brand. Please, 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 make sure you recognize the importance of your brand. Put it at the heart of your business and concentrate on building that brand over the longer term. If you do that, you can build brands that transform your business. You can build brands that can transform a nation, as Mr. Shikoh pointed out. And you can build brands that can change the world. Thank you.
شكرا استاذ ميشيل وشكرا لكم كلكم ان قدرتوا تتكلمون من ضمن الوقت اللي انعطى. فاذا ممكن نحول لاسئله من الجمهور وراح ناخذ تفضل راح ناخذ سؤال على سؤال رقم 3 لو سمحت.
السلام عليكم. خالد ميمن من كلية الاقتصاد والإدارة. This has been a fantastic introduction to brand saving and brand development. According to Cutler, he said that you need to throw most of your marketing books and keep very few. So my question is, which aspects of marketing would you keep and which aspects would you divert given the social media currently? Thank you.
Who would like to take that question? Go ahead.
As I was pointing out in my presentation as well, absolutely true. Traditional marketing, if you think about it, used to be called push, or is affectionately referred to push marketing. You have a message and you push it out. Today, because of digital media, the fundamental change that has happened is it's now no more push marketing, it's pull marketing. It's a two-way conversation. Brands before used to focus on just a few channels. You had TV, print, radio, etc. Now the industry refers to it as the omni-channel. I mean, there are hundreds of touch points, thousands of it. And what it has done is for brands to really, that's the fundamental shift, which is realizing that it is a conversation now with your customers. And that is why the importance of authenticity and it's made marketing much more transparent. You can't not be true with your audience and your audience not know about it.
Thank you. Number 3. Yes.
شكرا أسعد الله صباحكم جميعا. I would like to speak in Arabic, but since all the speakers have presented their presentation in English, my comment, my intervention is going to be in English.
بالكويتي ما يخالف بعد.
معليش إن شاء الله أبشر. سم طال عمرك. As far I am very pleased with what I have heard, and I congratulate all the 4 presenters. I think it has been very clear, precise, and direct to the point. It is related to the theme of the conference, and that is the economics. And I congratulate الغرفة التجارية and the organizers also for selecting this type of group and for the panel. My question is this: how do you differentiate between the marketing pitch in every brand sign and the cultural value of the brand itself? Because sometimes the brands are very catchy and they don't give enough attention to the implications of the brands from a moral, from a societal point of view. I would like to hear the views of the panel on this very philosophical aspect of creating brands, marketing the brands, and also the impact of such things on the youth and the society at large. Thank you.
Thank you. Michel?
Thank you. That's a fantastic question. Firstly, everything starts with what you want your brand to be. And once you've decided exactly what you want your brand to be, everything follows from that. If you are concerned about cultural aspects, if you're concerned about societal aspects, if you want to embody certain aspects of your culture, if you want to portray certain values, all of these things need to be built into the brand from the beginning. And what's really important then is that these then become the guide for everything that your brand then does. So the marketing that comes from your brand should follow what those values are. The communications that comes from those brands should be in line with what with those aspects. Another key point is you're talking about the youth and also talking about the question earlier, which is which part, how do you focus on the youth? Which part of your marketing activities do you focus on? Clearly, it's about making sure you are picking the right message and the right channels for reaching your target audience. So using your brand as the filter, using your brand as the guide, make sure that you communicate the brand in the right way. Deciding on what your brand stands for, make sure that you're communicating the right things.
رقم 2.
Hello. Yes, my name is Yasser Bakr, and my first question is to Mr. Benson. You've talked about creating the brand and how to enhance it further, but at the day and age that we live in right now, what's the best way to communicate it, especially in our region? The second question is to Mr. Abdulqader. Last year, Al-Marai had a challenge when it came to their pricing strategy. Anything related to learnings from that experience that we could know about here, about maintaining the brand loyalty amongst customers? Thank you.
Certainly. I'll answer your questions first. There is no single answer to communicating effectively. It depends on who your target audience is and how you best reach them. So if you have a strong brand, you'll often find that let me start again. Firstly, identify who your target audience is. And there are going to be certain channels that your target audience can be reached better through than others. Then you need to decide which of those channels is most appropriate for your brand. Not all brands can work effectively across all channels because you've got different things to communicate. So make sure that the channel that you are using allows you to get across those aspects that that set you apart from the competition. Social media is a fantastic tool. It's still a new and emerging tool. It allows a dialogue. All brands are becoming more like a service, even FMCG brands. And so dialogue is important because it's a two-way interaction. Service is an interaction, it's not just one way. So depending on what your brand is, social media can be a great tool, but it might not be the most effective tool. So traditional forms of advertising might be more effective for your brand. Consideration has to be put into what are you trying to say, how do you reach your target audience, and what are the best connection moments for your message. That will guide you as to which media you should be choosing.
Thank you. رقم 5. Number 5.
Naif, I think I have a pending question from Mr. Bakr.
Oh, there's a second question. I'm sorry. Hold up for 1 second. There was a second question that wasn't answered. I'm sorry. 1 second. Sorry, my fault.
Thank you for asking that question. And pricing was and continues to be a challenge for Al-Marai. It was mainly driven by the increase in the ingredients costs. What has Al-Marai done is actually it has decided that it will not waver on the quality that it provides to its consumers and to take the hit on that. So it continued to provide a very high quality product, although all the ingredient costs have went up. What that has resulted in is a decrease in its profitability in 2011 versus 2012, but it will not unwaver from its commitment to quality.
Thank you. Okay, number 5. I'm sorry, my fault. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Najah Salama from King Abdulaziz University, Marketing Department. I have 2 questions. The first one for the presenter from Bateel company. You mentioned that when you cannot distribute your products from your own channels, you send it to supermarkets. From your opinion, when you cannot make distribution from your own channels, what is it make it difficult to distribute your product from your own channels? The second questions to Mr. Michel. You mentioned that we can buy good or buy I mean, strong brand, you can reduce operating costs. Can you tell me, please, how can you reduce operating costs by strong brands? Thank you for all presenters.
Great questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to answer your question. We have not decided to distribute products through the supermarket because we couldn't distribute those products through our own distribution channel. The Bateel has a certain quality standards that it has to be met in order for a product to go through our retail stores, the boutiques, the gourmet boutiques, or the cafes. Now, in our farms, we produce dates, a large quantity of dates. About 50% of that, the dates that we produce, are of qualities that can meet the Bateel standards. Now, the other 50% of the dates that we produce are good dates. They are clean dates. They are infestation-free dates. But they have some blemishes, both in terms of broken skins and also uniformity of size that does not fit the Bateel marketing channels. So before maybe 3 years ago, that we managed to launch the Jumara brand. Before that, we took these dates, the 50% that we couldn't sell through the Bateel channel, and sold it like everybody else in the standard wholesale market with very low prices, so essentially giving it away. And 3 years ago, we said, well, these are good dates, good quality. The only difference is only for those who really can tell the difference between really premium quality. The days are not quite as good. So we said, well, what do we do with it? Should we sell it in Bateel? The answer was no. How do we sell it in other? Should we sell it under Bateel brand name in the supermarkets? And the answer to that was no, because again, Bateel needed a certain premium marketing platform, and taking the Bateel name to the supermarket would have somewhat lowered that level of positioning that we want Bateel to have. So we packed it, and now today Jumara is the #1 brand in the UAE, and I think it's becoming increasingly a strong brand in Saudi Arabia because the product is good, the packaging is good, it just has a different positioning. That is the reason that we created brand, and I think now we are leveraging that brand not only to sell dates, but we are also selling other dry fruits, chocolates, and other things in a much larger distribution channel, which is the supermarket, and we don't have to invest in stores and others. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. There's a second question there.
Yes, the second question.
If I can, before you answer, if I can please ask the audience, please one question only so we can get to more people. And everybody has 2 and 3 questions. If you get the chance to do the second question later on, that's fantastic, but let's please just do one question each for now. Yes.
Certainly. So the question was, how do strong brands reduce operating costs? Well, there's 3 key areas and another area, actually, which I don't think has ever been quantified, but I know from personal experience, having worked on some of the world's leading brands as a client and actually as a global brand director. The first key areas are around cost of capital. So a brand that is strong means that it has a following and it has loyalty, which means that you have security in future demand. People who lend the business money can understand that and can see that and will class you as a lower risk. And so therefore your cost of capital is reduced. Another area is that suppliers want to work with strong brands, and they'll be falling over themselves to try and secure you as a contract. And that way you can benefit from better prices. And another area is reducing the cost of recruitment, and actually a benefit, I suppose, which is getting better talent. If you have a strong brand, people will want to come and work for you, and the cost of recruitment is lower. And you will be able to secure better talent because you will be able to choose the cream of the crop, so to speak. The fourth area that is unquantified, and again I know from personal experience, is that if you have clarity of what your brand stands for, there's less wastage in the business in terms of time and effort and money, in terms of research and development, creating new ideas and testing them, and for suddenly realizing that it's off-brand or it brings the wrong things to the brand. Many businesses can think of times where they've tried things and thought, it's a good idea, but it's not quite right for us. If we were clear about what that brand is up front, you wouldn't have wasted that time and money. I don't think anyone's ever quantified that, but I'm sure it's huge.
Thank you. رقم 1 وبعدين 4 وبعدين 3.
السلام عليكم. عبد الغني إعلامي. سؤالي للأستاذ رفيق الدين ذكر في عرضه جميل جدا ربط العلامة التجارية بقيم المجتمع. ألا تعتقد أنه هذا يضع العلامة في قمة الخطر لأنها قد تكون عرضة للتقلبات السياسية، كون أنها هي فرضا أو الصراعات الدينية، كون أنه العلامة التجارية فرضا محسوبة على مجتمع معين، محسوبة على فكر معين، في حال وجود أي تقلبات سياسية أو صراعات دينية فإن هذه العلامة التجارية سوف تفقد العديد من عملائها. فأرى أنه ربط ما يكون مباشر دائما بشكل دائم أنه هذه العلامة التجارية محسوبة على سياسة معينة، محسوبة على قيم مجتمع معين، لأنها عرضة للخلافات فحيخسر الكثير من العملاء فيها. فما رأيكم في ذلك؟
Absolutely. I think if our context is a brand that appeals and serves all customers, and if our objective is, one of the objective is to have an offering that has a global stature, perhaps, absolutely. So I'm not saying, what I'm suggesting here is what is the soul and what is the unique ingredient of the values that drive your brand. Many of these values that I spoke of are all underlying. One of the gentlemen asked, how do you translate that in terms of advertising as well? And when you talk about some of the values I listed in terms of modesty or family values or a value that a company has to give back to the community, these have very strong aspects that are reflected in a company's action towards not just its customers, how it deals with its employees, how it deals with its suppliers, how it communicates the message. There's a personality to it. So that is what I'm talking about. And I would agree with you. Doing it overtly is, you essentially limit your scope. So if you say, my product is just for Muslims or a certain type of aspect of it, then you, by definition, have limited the scope of your potential. So, but my message here was that it's about not trying to be somebody who you're not. It's about believing in the values that you believe in and stand for, and let the brand live it in how you create your brand and your company and how you serve your customers and your commitment to quality and integrity. These are things that I'm referring to. And if the inspiration comes from your own values, it's stronger and authentic. So I hope I answered or clarified that point.
Thank you for that. Sure.
I think one of the reasons that Bateel is poised now to go international was that early on we made a decision to establish the brand and create this new distribution channel was to have a platform that is really truly universal. Even when we were picking the name, original predecessor of Bateel was Al-Fakhra Date Company, which is still part of the Bateel organization. And we had to decide what kind of name to give Bateel, to give the new brand. And it took a lot of thought to come up with the Bateel name. And the objective was not to limit it to pronunciation in certain parts of the world. So yes, I think the idea of limiting brands to a specific ethnic group or religious group or geography, I think is a handicap and not a avenue to develop your brand internationally.
أنا إن شاء الله في الجلسة الختامية لما أتكلم عن تجربتي مع 99 راح أتكلم عن اللي صار فينا في السوق الأمريكي، لأن إحنا في أمريكا كلينا هوا صراحة، يعني بالنسبة لأن انحسبنا على الإسلام ومو على مع أن إحنا قاعدين نحط قيم إيجابية للإسلام يشارك في خلق الله، بس الربط للإسلام بعض الجماعات يعني يعني مشكلتنا هناك شويه. فالتجربه هذه ان شاء الله راح اشارككم فيها باخر جلسه اليوم. 4 وبعدين 3.
Hello. Assalamu alaikum. I would like to address this question to Mr. Michael Benson and Mr. Hussam Abdulqader. My name is Ahmed Yunus. I'm from Ability Consulting, specializing in corporate social responsibility. My question is, how is the CR, the corporate responsibility, or the CSR as it is being known, contributed in consolidating the image in the strength of the brand? And Mr. Benson have mentioned that he touched briefly on Nike image and how it is.
Can we please limit to one question?
Yeah, that is the question. Okay. Is how is the corporate social responsibility contributed to the image of the branding, consolidating the image of the brand itself, and how is Al-Marai dealt with the issue of 135,000 cows waste emitting the emission of the methane gas, and what is the footprint of 1,000 trucks? So how you dealt with that and how it helped your image, if you dealt with it ever? Thank you.
You don't consult for a competitor of Marai, do you? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay. It's a very good question, and CSR is something that's quite new in its new definition. What we have done more of recently is more on philanthropy, not necessarily on CSR, although we do carry some programs on CSR. You're welcome to see them on our website. And we also have a lot of philanthropic actions that we carry out through the region. To answer your second question, what has been done about this? There is a lot that has been done, but not necessarily the two aspects that you've touched on. We recycle, and our suppliers as well would recycle the most of any wastage or any packaging that we have or any packaging waste that we would have. The other thing is also, which is a lot more important in this region as well, is the water conservation. What Al-Marai has done is actually went ahead of the legislation that was passed, where importation of alpha is required for any exported quantities. This has been decided that over the next 5 years that all dairy companies would need to import that alpha from abroad in about 20% each year starting in 2011. Al-Marai went ahead and did that all in 2011 itself. 100% of that is imported and that's saving the water resources. As far as the next step that we're taking as well on that issue is we have invested initial investment in Argentina now of buying farmland. It's about 400 square kilometers where all the feed for our farms will be imported from there, and again saving 97% of the water required for the dairy industry.
Thank you. رقم 3 في سؤال؟
Yeah, hi. My name is Ambas Qandil. I'm from Value Consulting. I wanted to ask the very same question my colleague just asked, so I'll switch to another question. My question to Mr. Michael Benson. We talked very nicely about brands. If we look at the trend that we have today in the retail industry, if we look at the Aldi example, for example, people are switching to in-house brands. They're going away from branded products to more economical alternatives. They're going to in-house brands at the expense of expensive brands. So how do you go about this?
It's quite interesting, actually, when people ask that question. The fact is that they are switching from one brand to another brand. It's not that they're going to an unbranded purchase. What's happening is that they're drivers of choice. So what is important to them about that particular product or about that particular category has changed. And those drivers of choice vary by the different types of customer. So in some categories, some customers believe that the brand plays a smaller role in their purchase. It's not important who they buy it from because they don't see a difference between the competing offers. So the way to counteract that is to make sure that you do have a difference when you compare yourself with the own labels or you compare yourself with the retailer brands. And those differences are sometimes hard to identify and sometimes hard to maintain because the supermarkets react very quickly and begin to introduce the innovations that you've identified. So that's why it's important, as I was mentioning earlier, to protect those things that make you uniquely you so that you can't be copied. Pressures, for example, on people's pockets. Many industries and many nations are in recession and people have less disposable income, means that people will spend more selectively. And it's interesting to see that, yes, there are some very wealthy consumers who might shop at somewhere like Aldi for some basics where they don't believe there is a difference, where brand is less important. But they will still spend on high-ticket items or certain items in which they do believe the brand is important. And it's trying to understand the dynamics of your target audience is key to understand how you're going to differentiate yourself.
ثلاثة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. مازن كتبي. في سؤال للسيد مايكل بنسون بشأن تأثير مشاركة العناصر المحلية والمجتمعات المحلية في بناء الماركات واستمراريتها وانتشارها عالميا. شكرا.
Thank you. I think there's a couple of aspects to that question. One links back to authenticity. If a brand is built by a local community and reflects the values of that community, it will be an incredibly authentic brand and a brand that is very relevant to those people who have put it together. Relevance is the next key question, which is if that brand is relevant to its local community, we need to make sure that it's built in a way that makes it relevant for an international community or an international target audience. And I think it's going to be essential that while creating that brand, you need to understand what is going to translate. Have a vision of where you want to be in the long term so that you can build the brand correctly now. If you can build the brand correctly now with a local community, I think you'll build a very strong brand because it will be grounded in authenticity, which will give it its credibility.
So I have a question for you, and it's to the entire panel. How risky is it investing to create a brand out of Arabia with limited IP protection? Specifically, are there any Marai products that spell Marai with 3 R's instead of 1? Are there any Bateels that have 4 E's in there instead of the 2 you have? I have in Kuwait, there was an example of a department store that launched called Barui, which my brother was involved in. They spent $1 million in branding and advertising. Within 4 months, the Barui school launched in Kuwait, not far from the department store. Same logo, same color, same everything, nothing to do with my brother. How risky is it to invest money in a brand given the legal landscape here?
Well, firstly, the legal landscape is becoming more sophisticated and the ability to protect your brands is increasing. So brand registers, particularly in the region, have improved considerably over and trademark registers have improved considerably over time. The first thing you need to do is create something that is distinctive and is uniquely yours. If it is not distinctive and it's not unique, it's very, very hard to defend. Because if you're copying someone else, then you can't claim that it's yours only. Secondly, get it registered. Thirdly, if there is anybody who starts copying you, go after them. There are many businesses like Apple, like many of the drinks companies in the West, like McDonald's, who if anybody comes anywhere close to what their brand stands for, their lawyers swing into action and they are fierce, fierce people, and you don't want to get on the wrong side of them. I suppose this is a promotion for legal entities. They often offer services where they can see how brands, they can keep a track of your brand and they can do risk management for your brand and monitor registrations and monitor publications for brands that might be encroaching, who might be coming close to what your brand stands for. I think the most important thing, though, is start with something distinctive and then make sure that you've got that registered and that can be uniquely yours.
But Bateel and Marai, have you gone through examples of this?
Well, we have I would say the first part of it is to make sure that you have a design that's quite unique.
No. Have you gone through a specific incidents where somebody tried to copy your logo, your trademark, to sell similar products?
We have at different levels, whether it's from the logo itself or the packaging or the design itself. Yes, we do face that. And the first step is actually to get everything registered. That will protect you. Now, the legal process is lengthy, so it's not an immediate reaction that you would get for somebody that does copy your brand. But legal is the way to go.
I think we had one case still going on in Qatar where somebody is using Bateel name to be in a business that's very similar to what we do. But I think you cannot be successful in business by just taking somebody's name. I think brands require continuous commitment, to keep customers happy and deliver the promise that you make. So I think short term, obviously it hurts that somebody copies you, but on the long term, unless you have a product that can be easily copied and easily taken advantage of, then you have a problem. But I think if you have a strong brand that requires a lot of resources, organization, and commitment to keep the expectation of the consumer meet, eventually these copycats go away. Yeah. And I think you can see that in major brands, people have copied them, but it doesn't last very long. So although we are concerned about it and we are taking some legal action, but by and large, we don't worry about people copying us, because although I didn't have enough time, but we have had a tremendous amount of investment in both to develop an organization which is vertically integrated from farms to high-end luxury retailing in order to create and sustain the brand. So if somebody copies us, how much would it take for them to do it? And it's not that easy. So strong,
But surely it must dilute your brand. Huh? Surely it must dilute. If people are associating other products with your brand that you wouldn't intend to be there and using the name, surely that must take away from them.
I think it does, and the longer they stay, the more damage they do. But my sense is that their longevity is not very good, because people quickly will not buy their product, which is not good.
Did you want to weigh in on that, Rafiq, or are you okay?
I think it was along the same lines.
Okay, thank you. Number 3?
Good morning. I have a short question on the issue of values. I'm always concerned that values with brands are usually an afterthought and not really at the beginning of the story. So, Mr. Benson, you showed BP as one of your clients, and we know what happened in the Gulf Coast. So, if the values were really built into the system, would this have happened? Another concern is that where we see it quite often right now is in this green sustainability issue, is that many companies, for example, Mr. Hussam just mentioned the issue with they're doing all of this alpha importation. Did you actually need to wait for the government to mandate this for you to do it? Because I would assume if it was in the values of the company for sustainability, it should have been done maybe 20 or 30 years before. And this is where it comes to Mr. Shikoh and the concern of using Islam's authentic values. My concern is that companies are going to start using it while it's not really. Maybe let me give you an example. So let's say the Islamic countries, that sector really comes to the front and becomes this multi-trillion-dollar sector. You'll see BMWs, I don't know, branded as, I don't know, the Islamic car to drive, while it was not really the value that it was built on. So that was my concern. Where do we draw the fine line in, building a value or importing values to a brand as opposed to building it bottom up, right?
So is the green tie for Islam, for the environment, or the fact that St. Patrick's Day is in 2 weeks?
Good, exactly.
I can start, and of course I'm also intrigued to hear the other perspectives. Again, I think the key point is it's not about putting a label on your arm and saying this is who I am, but it's living it. And so the only point I'm making when we talk about brands from Arabia going global is being authentic to your identity and values. That's it. It's not about putting a label on it, but being authentic to who you are, because in today's evolving digital and evolving paradigm of marketing, it's transparent. Who you are is visible to your customer. So the point I gave of the German people versus German brand, it's who you are will reflect strongly to the brands you build. So I think that's where I would draw the line, and I would agree it's, you know, the labeling is, I mean, there are different ways, best practices to use it, but my only point is the authenticity aspect.
So we have, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. Just to try and answer some of those questions, you asked quite a few questions just there. Yes, unfortunately, many businesses will one day wake up and say, well, we've got a logo, what do we stand for? And that's really the wrong way around to be thinking about it. You need to understand what it is that you stand for right at the beginning. That will inform then what you look like, what you feel like, and everything else that your business does. And yes, unfortunately, accidents do happen, and a business like BP certainly has safety as part of what they do, because they are in many areas very, very dangerous territory. But accidents happen, and the way that you respond to accidents is also driven by your brand, in terms of what your values are. So I'm sure they have tried to prevent it, but that's an unfortunate case. In terms of brands, when it comes to CSR that you were mentioning, yes, if a brand feels that's important to them, and brands these days do feel it is important to them. Not too long ago, the different stakeholders that brands had were quite a narrow group. Now there are more pressure groups, there are more people concerned about the environment. Brands are beginning to recognize that they're not just about creating wealth, and they're not just about creating jobs, they are a larger role in society. And that's why CSR has come to the fore. And so brands should start thinking about what is their position on that, and how does the brand embody that, and how do you do that in a way that is unique to your brand and can also help build brand value.
Thank you very much for that. There's one final question. Make it quick, please.
Yes. My name is Mamdou Rouhani. I had a question, and maybe Mr. Benson can help us on that, building on the question of copying brands. Now, this was a serious issue 10, 15 years ago, but now we have a bigger issue, which is jeopardizing the image through PR, through social media. I know some of the companies here, especially in telecom sector, they have rooms full of 35, 40 people. Their job is to pretend that they are consumers and just put on Facebook, Twitter, every channel of social media.
Please make it quick, because we're
I wanted to know some of the experience of international brands. How are they facing this problem?
Right. Unfortunately, I don't have many great examples of that. It's a new problem, and it's an interesting one. We're working with a hotel client based in Dubai, and the power that the new media has is quite incredible. So TripAdvisor, for example, when it comes to the travel market, is one of the biggest references for customers booking holidays. And it is clear that it's being exploited by various competitors. And I think that's a challenge that the industry has to face. The reason why it's a big challenge is that consumers' shopping habits have changed. The decisions they make are the same, but the channels they turn to are different. Those channels are now becoming abused. And there is now a responsibility on behalf of those people who own those channels to ensure that they are not being abused and they're not misleading customers. And that's something that I know that TripAdvisor is deeply concerned about. But then it's also something that the brand owners have to be aware of, so that if they see the malicious posts being put up that can impact their brand, that they need to be able to react very quickly to that and talk to those channel owners to get those posts removed or to challenge them. And that has been so far the surest way of counteracting some of those things. But unfortunately, it's a new problem. It's a very, very new problem, and there's no straightforward answer.
Thank you very much for that. Please bring that question with you to the third panel on social media. We'll have some interesting examples, and I'm sure the panelists will have as well. Thank you very much for that incredible panel. And it's one of those situations where we teach as we learn and learn as we teach. You had amazing insights. There are amazing questions for the audience. And with that, I'd like to نبدل نسوي إن شاء الله السؤال ننهي في جلسة. فكل واحد يكون عنده الريموت كنترول بإيده هني. السؤال اليوم بنهاية هالجلسة، بعيداً عن الصناعات النفطية، في أي مجالات ينبغي على المملكة العربية السعودية أن تبني ماركات عالمية للزبائن؟ رقم 1 أو الحرف الA البيع بالتجزئة، الطعام والمشروبات. رقم 2 حرف B المنتجات والخدمات الإسلامية. رقم 3 C الطيران، البنية التحتية والإعلام. رقم 4 غير ذلك. رجاء ضغط على أحد الأزر. حين إن شاء الله تطلع النتائج. فالفائز بدرجة كبيرة رقم 2 المنتجات والخدمات الإسلامية. شكرا لمشاركتنا في هذا الجلسة، وشكرا لأسئلتكم الممتازة، وإن شاء الله نشوفكم عما غريب بعد الاستراحة. Thank you very much for your time.